When you let go of the past, your past will let go of you. The reason why I encourage people to get out of that mindset is because that's just a one-way ticket to a lifelong commitment to sadness, disappointment, lethargy, complacency, and feeling stuck and lost. Don't miss an opportunity to tell someone how much they mean to you.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 and 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 and 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because chances are you are the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Jay Shetty, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Adopt the 3S model.
The first thing I'd say is I think everyone needs the feeling that they can just come up for some air. Life can often feel like someone's literally drowning you and you feel like you're drowning and floundering, especially if you're in an extreme case of anxiety or stress or depression. And I feel like you just need to feel like you can just come up for a tiny bit of air. So for that, in the book, I talk about the 3S model, which is your sights, sense, and sounds. What we see, what we hear, and what we smell has a profound impact on our mental state, and we actually underestimate our sense. And I'll give you an example. All of us have been walking around with masks, and someone said this to me the other day, and it hit me. They were saying to me that now that we all wear masks and do this the whole time, I think my mask over there, they were doing this all the time, they realized they couldn't hear people properly. And the reason they couldn't hear people properly is they realized they don't use their ears, they use their eyes to see people's lips. And so actually, they're not even using their ears that much. They're using their eyes to follow the lips and know what someone's saying. So actually, we depend so much on our eyes in every interaction. How many times have you been looking at someone attractive and you forgot what they were talking about? Right? You're just so engaged with your eyes that you completely even forgot to listen. Right? Or you're so lost in the vision of something again and you're in a daze, you can't smell anything. You can't taste anything. So we've got to learn to reactivate our senses. So I'll give an example of what I mean. As monks, our life was sight designed, sound designed, and scent designed. What's the first thing you see when you wake up in the morning? For 80% of people, the first thing they see in the morning is their phone, and the last thing they see at night is their phone. That is poor sight design because you don't even choose what the first message of the day your mind receives.
That actually made my stomach drop. That's a gnarly thought.
It's true,
yeah.
Right? Imagine the last thing someone sees is not their partner or their spouse or the person they sleep with, they see their phone. And the first thing in the morning they look at is their phone. And guess what? It's not a good sight because you're looking at a message that you didn't design for your mind. You're looking at a picture or an image that maybe came through on your Instagram feed that you didn't choose for your mind. So now you've started your day with envy, jealousy, comparison, competition, collab, like all of the monkey mind stuff. And the monkey mind's excited, the monkey mind's on, the monkey mind's like, yeah, we're ready to go. And now you've started the day with the monkey mind. So my advice is, start your day with a quote that you love. Start your day with a picture of someone that you love or your family. Start your day with a work of art that inspires you. Start your day with seeing the first thing that you see. Make it so closely connected to your soul and your goal and your purpose that your monk mind naturally comes alive. So as monks, the first thing that we saw was sometimes a teaching that we'd keep next to us. It might be a spiritual text where I just ripped it out of a book and stuck it there next to my bed so I woke up to that. Just wake up to something that you actually want to see when you wake up. And make it intentional and make it focused. It could even be a reminder on a sticky note. I remember for a long time, I had one when I was a monk that said, I am not this body. Just to disconnect from the fact that I was more than this body. And because we didn't have mirrors in the ashram, it was very easy to forget I was this body. Or I've had other ones that say to me, I'm exactly where I need to be. And I've read that in the morning. And that just reminds me, because so often I wake up feeling anxious that I'm behind on my day or I'm late, and then I actually make up a mess, whereas if I read, I'm exactly where I need to be, and I remind myself I can start my day there. So that's sight. And that's simple, easy for anyone to do. You don't have to change your mind, you don't need to meditate, you don't have to do anything. The second one is, let's talk about scent design. Now, one of the things I've been missing during quarantine is going to a spa or going to like a resort, because I love massages and I love spas and like me and my wife love getting away. And if you think about it, whenever you go into a spa or a massage space or whatever they're called, or a resort, you can always feel relaxed from the moment you walk in just through the power of scent. It could be the most basic room in the world, but a scent can literally illuminate a whole room. So scents like eucalyptus, lavender, sandalwood, if you've got a diffuser or a candle, and you can make this a part of your routine, before you start your workday, just have a candle that you breathe in for 4 seconds and breathe out for 4 seconds. Have a diffuser in your room that just makes you feel calm, because as soon as you walk in. One thing I've been doing is putting eucalyptus drops into my showers and turning into a natural steam, and I just feel like completely relieving all my sinuses and feeling calm. These are just really practical things you can do to just ease yourself into it. And the third one's sound. This one's so powerful. Sound is underestimated, because now we just have music playing all the time in the background, and the music may not even be intentional, and the lyrics are all over the place, and you've got instruments that are not being played well or in harmony, and you get a pump or like a boost out of it. And I learned about sound in the ashram, and we had sound design. We would wake up to nature sounds. And nature's so aligned with your body and mind. If you look at nature, if you breathe in with the ocean, your breath will just be exactly where it needs to be. If you allow yourself to just be present with the wind, you'll feel your body just slow right down and be calm. Nature just has this amazing way of teaching so many lessons. And so when I lived in New York City, I often found myself getting exhausted, and I started looking into it, and I was thinking, what is it? I work out, I do all this stuff. And I realized that, especially in New York, we deal with a lot of insignificant sound. You know, something called cognitive load, where your brain is processing irrelevant, insignificant sound of trucks, horns, construction work, and drilling. And so when your ears are trying to make sense of insignificant sound, you're losing energy in an irrelevant way. And so sound design means every room in your home, have a song that plays or music that plays in that room that gives you the feeling you want it to have. Another easy way to do that is, before you start work or while you're working, have a song or a playlist that really gets you into the mode that you want to be in when you're doing that. Sound is a beautiful accomplice to any activity you want. So those are 3 simple ways that anyone starting today can bring the ashram to their home by sight, scent, and sound design, because that's how our lives were designed.
Rule number 2, start living in the now.
When you let go of the past, your past will let go of you, and that's harder to do. Like, it's easy to say, it's hard to do. The way to stop living in the past is start living in the now. So start making plans right now. Start making plans for the future. Start spending time with people who also don't get nostalgic. I remember at one point in my life, I kind of detached from a lot of people who spent a lot of time in the past. Now, they weren't negative people. They always talked about how things used to be great in the old days. You know, nostalgia, that, oh, it felt so good a few years ago. That was the best years of my life. I started to disconnect from that, because I realized that I didn't want to be living feeling like the best years of my life were going to be at university and end there, that the best years of my life were as a teenager and end there. I always want every year to be the best year of my life, right? I never wanted to settle or limit myself for the feeling that the best years of my life have already passed. So sometimes it's not even negativity, it's just not allowing us to move forward.
Rule number 3, express love.
Don't miss an opportunity to tell someone how much they mean to you. Like, just don't, and I said it better than that somewhere, I can't find it right now, but I mean that, like, just don't miss an opportunity. Like, I was saying that with my mentor, I always told him I loved him, always. And now that I can't tell him anymore, I'm just glad I did tell him.
You're not regretting it.
Yeah, totally. So like, don't ever leave someone without telling them how much they mean to you, because you don't know when they'll leave.
Oh.
And so like, that is just like, never let your last interaction with someone, you know,
be a bad one.
Be a bad one.
Yeah. Opportunity to express love or just generosity.
Exactly. Especially the people you love, right? Like, you may have bad interactions with people once or twice or a business, but the people that are close to you and you love, the people you'll regret it with, don't. It's just not worth living with.
Rule number 4, live your purpose.
I encourage so many people that I coach, so many people that I mentor, obviously everyone in my community and audience and everything, to go and follow that, go and live that purpose. And I see time and time again that when I see people trying to live their purpose, they are protected, that things work. When you're playing in your dharma and your purpose, things work, things move, you feel momentum. They happen. And I'm not saying they happen without effort, but they happen, they move. Whereas when you're not, you just constantly feel like you're grinding up against, a wall.
I know, challenges.
Just constant.
So what is your purpose and when did you discover it?
Good question. What is my purpose is simple. It's always has been not since the beginning, because I discovered it afterwards. My purpose is making wisdom go viral. And I've stuck with that and I've kept it that way because to me, and there's more to it, making wisdom go viral through entertainment, I would say is my purpose, because I believe that is something that is uniquely my goal, impact, and service. Yeah. And the beautiful thing is I'm not limited to a platform. So that can be books, it can be podcasts, it can be TV shows, it can be movies. It's not limited. And this I learned by reading. I was reading after, and this was after my video started to get seen. This wasn't before I did it. It wasn't like I sat down and I wrote this fancy tagline. I was reading Salim Ismail's book called Exponential Organizations. And in this book, he talks about something called an MTP, a massive transformational purpose. And he says that every major person, organization in the world has an MTP. So an MTP has to be aspirational, it has to be massive, and it has to be service and purpose-based. So Google's is organizing the world's information. Notice it doesn't say we're an SEO company. Right. Notice it doesn't say we do Google ads. Right. They're organizing the world's information. Yeah. That's how big they're dreaming. And when you're organizing the world's information, you can do driverless cars, you can do Google Glass, you can sell Google ads, whatever it is. And so TED's is ideas worth spreading. That's what they are, that's what they're about. So Jay Shetty is making wisdom go viral. Yeah. That's what I'm dedicated to. Hey everyone, I have been reading a bit from my friend's book, Evan Carmichael, Built to Serve, and I wanted to share this with you. So, according to a study by Carnegie Mellon University, people with supportive spouses are more likely to give themselves the chance to succeed. They studied 163 married couples and found that people with supportive spouses were more likely to take on potentially rewarding challenges. Those who accepted challenges experienced more personal growth, happiness, and psychological well-being. Now, I can truly say that I've experienced that in my life. When I first met my wife, I was just starting out. I had never released a video. I hadn't created any content. And she was such an important part of feeling supported on that journey. So whether you're in a relationship, whether you're dating, whether you're married, or even if you're single, being supported by friends and a strong community is important. Built to Serve by Evan Carmichael. Great book on how you can find your purpose and also on reminding us that we can all make a difference in the world. Thanks, Evan.
Rule number 5, accept the pain.
And often people try and belittle and devalue their own pain to get out of it, but that actually just slows down the process and then they're back to square one again. So you've got to accept the pain you went through. You've got to accept that you want to heal it. One of the best ways to explain this is how what we search for in our partners or in life is what we did or didn't get from our parents.
That's interesting.
Like literally what we search for, and I've analyzed this in my life a ton and in others, if you look for what you look for in your partner or for what you look for in life through your bosses, any authorities, anyone who has a position of power in your life, is what you didn't or did get from your parents. And so you're creating a life based on your past trauma or your past challenge. That doesn't lead to a positive relationship. I found myself projecting the patterns, the negative patterns that my parents had into my relationship with my wife. That doesn't create a positive experience. And by the way, I'm not blaming any parents in the world. Everyone's figuring it out, so I'm not even blaming my own. But we need to have the awareness of developing the emotional skills that our parents didn't have. So again, reminding ourselves of being aware that we're literally creating lives that will continue in the same direction unless our mindset changes.
Rule number 6, overcome envy.
When you feel envy, when you feel jealousy, you've got three responses, three kind of wired responses in the way you behave. There are more, there's multifaceted layers, but let's start with three. The lowest form is ignorance. You want to complain, you want to compare, you want to criticize, you want to wish like you have it. That's the lowest form of response. That's where we start, and that's okay. And therefore, the first point is just recognizing that that's where we start. A layer up from that, an improvement from that is, okay, that person's going out there and getting it. I'm not just going to mope about the fact that they've got stuff I want. I'm going to work and I'm going to show them. I'm going to compete with them. Right? I'm going to work as hard as they are and see how it gets. But you're still comparing. So you've given up the criticizing aspect. You've given up the fact that of you're copying, but you're still complaining. You're still comparing. Higher than that is the fact that you say, actually, let me care about my needs, let me praise that person, and let me become conscious of what I actually need, right? Let me not complain, let me not compare, let me not criticize, but let me become conscious, become self-aware of what direction is my life going into? What is it that I truly want to achieve? Where is it that I really want to go? Start creating self-awareness around those things. And naturally, you start to remove envy. So you've got the ignorance layer. From that, you've got the impulse layer. And the highest, you've got the insightful layer, right? So you've got ignorance, impulse, and insight. We want to be at insight. We want to move away from ignorance. We want to move away from impulse. You want to move higher and higher to higher consciousness, to insight. Imagine everyone in the world operated on the level of insight. Right? That insight, that self-conscious awareness, self-care, compassion. You'd be oozing it out of yourself to absolutely everyone around you.
Rule number 7, get out of victim mindset.
One of the things you talk about is how people can begin to slide into a victim mentality. Mm-hmm. How do you help people around that? Why? Some people really do have it bad. So why do you advise them still to not adopt the victim mentality?
Yeah, so there's a study that I talk about in the book that looks at people who have a victim mindset. And by the way, that is a condition that's adopted. You are not a victim person, like you're not a negative person. You just have adopted a negative sense of thoughts and habits and beliefs. And the study looked at people that had those beliefs and looked at people who didn't. And they were asked to think of a time when they felt they were the victim. And the other people were just asked to think of a time when they were bored. After that, these two sets of people were asked if they'd like to take part in an activity of just helping the team that had created the experiment. And I think the people that were the victim mindset were 25% less likely to offer to help and be a part of this change. And to the degree that sometimes they left trash behind and even took the pens that they were given by the experimenters, to the point that you get so lost in that mentality that you don't even think about helping and getting out of it. So the reason why the victim mindset, it is real in the sense that there are definitely people in the world that have a harder situation than others. That's fact. There's no debating that point, that there are people who have it are harder than other people. There are people that have had it harder than me, but there are also people that have it easier than me. So I've had it harder than some, and same with you. And in our small bubbles, our hardship feels like the worst thing that could ever happen. And that's the craziest thing about pain, is that you only think pain is bad when you're really going through it. And we compare our pain with other people's pain. We say, oh, that person's pain can't be that bad. That person's pain, it's probably a bit less than mine. You know, because we've never experienced it. So the reason why I encourage people to get out of that mindset is because that's just a one-way ticket to a lifelong commitment to sadness, disappointment, lethargy, complacency, and feeling stuck and lost. There's nothing gained out of feeling sorry for yourself. I don't think there's anyone that I've ever heard say, and I'm open to it, but I've never heard anyone say to me that feeling like a victim my whole life actually helped me find a victory in life. Like, I don't think I've ever heard that. I've never read that in a book. I've never heard it in a documentary. I've never seen it anywhere. So if it's out there, I'm open to it. But when you look at that and you go, is this the life I want to keep living? Do I still want to feel this way? You look at someone like Sindhu Tai, you look at all of these incredible people that have broken barriers. You look at people who were told, Wilma Rudolph was told she would never walk again properly or run at age 9 and went on to be a multiple Olympic gold medalist. When you hear that, you're like, what, really? But that's what's possible. And so no one in the victim mindset has ever seen growth from that mindset. But everyone who has traded that victim mindset for a mindset of acceptance, a mindset of healing, and a mindset of perspective has found their way out.
Rule number 8, protect yourself.
Being compassionate and being giving isn't about spending your whole day with one person who needs your attention and affection if your purpose is to do something different. So for example, you're putting out this podcast, you put out video content, you write books. This is serving lots of different people in lots of ways. And you're not expecting, apart from the person buying the book, and getting the value from it, you're not really expecting them to do anything for you, right? You're not asking them to come and champion for you if they don't want to. So you're already planting those seeds, you're already sharing in that way. And I think the mistake we make is when we are overly compassionate to one person and we're doing it expecting that they're gonna do something back, right? So the only way
don't be overly compassionate expecting something in return.
Yeah, don't just if you see yourself,
don't do that if you're gonna
don't do that if you're gonna feel that, and that's okay. Like that doesn't make you less compassionate. It doesn't make you a bad person. Like if I don't want to, and I have rules about, there are certain people in my life that I don't ask for favors because I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm having to ask them, because not that they wouldn't do it or whatever, I just don't want to do that. It's just not who I am, and that's like, but that's fine. And there are certain people in my life that I won't give to because I know they're gonna keep asking for stuff. And so you have to protect yourself. And I think self-protection and being honest with yourself is the best way. So my favorite analogy in this is, if someone's drowning in the ocean, if you're fit and healthy and you're a lifeguard, great, you can go and save them. But if you're not, you might need to call the real lifeguard to come and help them out. And that's what real compassion is. Real compassion, if you can't help someone, if you're feeling toxic one day, you're feeling negative one day, you're feeling you're not really giving from your heart, it's better to introduce them to someone or find someone else who can help them than to go in there with all these toxic emotions and now you're expecting them to return the favor. It's better to not do it. If you're gonna do something and in your heart of hearts you're actually feeling bitter and regretting it, it's better not to do it, because guess what? You weren't compassionate when you did it with that intention. Compassion's about intention. It's not about the result. Like, two people could give the same amount to charity. One person gives it for PR, one person gives it because they care about the kids. Who's happy? The person who gave it for the kids. The person, both people's money had the same impact, but the intention is what defined what happened. So if you're begrudgingly going out there and helping someone, and in your heart of hearts you're like, oh, I can't believe they asked me, who are they? Like, I don't even like them, like they never helped me, and then you help them. Guess what? That's not compassion. Protect yourself, deal with it. Deal with that toxic emotion. So I don't help people when I feel like that. And I give myself that space.
You just say no, or
I just say no.
I
can't. Well, I'll be honest with them. I'll say, honest in the best way that you can. I don't think I can support you on this because I don't feel right about it, or it doesn't make sense to me, or whatever it is. Like, it's not the right fit. And I think that's actually stopping yourself from being a people pleaser.
Yes.
Because we actually are not compassionate. We're just people pleasers. We actually just want people to think we're like magnanimous and amazing, so we'll go to everything to support everyone. But it's like,
we're resentful people pleasers.
Exactly.
We please, and then we're resentful that we had.
Exactly.
Didn't get what we wanted.
And then now we want to make them feel guilty for not doing it back. So I make a conscious effort to support the people I love.
Yes.
To make an effort with the people I love and do more there, and that's fine. Your compassion you don't have to be this overarching person who's like doing it for everyone. Like that's part of the journey. It's going to take time to get there.
Rule number 9, put yourself first.
What is your take on putting yourself first? And like, is it selfish?
So with monk teachings, the point is you are taking care of yourself first in order to serve better. So it's always like, I'm going to put myself first so that I can fill up, so that I can serve with more. Because we want to serve with our best selves.
Right.
I always say this to people. It's like, people are always like, Jay, should I go to this party? Should I go out to this event? Should I call up this person? Should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm just like, well, if you're going to show up there with that energy,
don't go.
Where you're going to have to convince yourself to go, then guess what? That person's going to feel that.
Right.
Because if you're going to show up and you're going to show up with your best. So I feel, for me, it's not selfish if the intention is I want to give more and serve more.
That's good.
It's selfish when it's just like, oh, I'm just going to take care of myself because that's all that matters.
Right.
Whereas it's like, no, I'm going to take care of myself because I want to give my best self to the people I love,
Right.
to the people of the world, to the people I care for. And so I'm going to keep prioritizing myself. So I went down the wrong journey. When I first started wanting to serve, I used to just think, oh yeah, I'm going to stay up all night. If someone needs me to drive halfway across the country, I'll do that. And I would do things like that. And I started to realize I was just people pleasing. I wasn't serving. I was actually serving my own ego. That was the most selfish thing.
Interesting.
It was the most selfish thing because it was just people pleasing. But then I realized actually me saying, look, you know what? I need to get a good night's sleep tonight. But I promise you, first thing in the morning, we're going to talk about this and I'm going to bring my best self to this conversation. People started to respect that and value that and gave me that space. And so for me, as long as your intention is clear, that you're putting yourself first so you can give more, that's the best thing you can do, because I don't want to die early because I'm negligent of my health.
Right.
Because that means you're going to serve less in the long term.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is have compassion.
We feel so much envy about things that other people have that are good. We don't ever feel envious of things that other people have that are challenges. We don't really identify that. We rarely look at people and go, oh my God, I'm so lucky I don't have that, right? We're more like, I wish I had that. They're so lucky, I wish I had that. You never look at someone who you feel is worse off and feel, oh, I'm so lucky, I'm so blessed, I'm so grateful I'm not like that, and then try and help them. We rarely do that. So see, the mind, once trained, will actually start doing that. The mind will notice gratitude as opposed to amplifying envy. So we need to transform envy into gratitude by actually looking around us and thinking, wow, I'm actually quite lucky. You know, a majority of us are richer than 90% of the planet. Now that sounds ridiculous when we're all struggling to pay bills and stuff. But in reality, there are people far, far worse off. And people say, well, I can't relate to that. Well, then go there and relate to that, right? I know one gentleman who I was speaking with, and he was telling me that when his kids were young, he took them to India to spend time with children who had to walk miles for water, who never had food. And he made them spend time with them, gave them food, gave them water, helped them serve these kids. And that really taught them the value of what they had today. It's so, so important that we train and teach children about compassion, and teach ourselves about compassion, teach adults as well. If we can't connect to the fact that there are other people struggling in much worse ways, then we will never really be able to overcome our envy.
Now I've got a very special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you get motivated, inspired, you have a 35% chance of following through. But when you get motivated, inspired, and you create a plan of action, you have a over 90% chance of following through. And when you share it with other people, it jumps to 95% chance. Your likelihood of following through. And so I want that to be you from this video. We don't just watch videos here, Believe Nation. We do something. We take action. So I want to know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week. Leave it down in the comments below because I want to celebrate you.
What are 3 practices for self-care that you live by or that you give as examples?
One of my favorite ones is what I talk about, emotional vocabulary. So Harvard, and you can Google this, has this great table, and it shows how limited our emotional vocabulary is. So what I mean by this is, if someone asks you, how's your week been?
Oh, that's all right.
All right, good, bad, fine, okay. Right? How's your week going? Good. How's your day been? Okay. How are you doing tonight? Fine. Right? That's literally how we describe our lives.
Sometimes I say so good just to mix it up.
I love it. Good. At least you've got an expansive emotional vocabulary.
Yeah, so expansive.
So expansive. But our emotional vocabulary is so limited. Now there's a challenge here. We don't get to understand how we truly feel because we never articulate and express it. So when you say that you're angry, are you offended? Are you irritated? Are you defensive? There's so much more to the word angry than just anger. Or when you say I'm sad, when you say you're sad, are you upset? Are you regretful? Triggered. Are you triggered? Right? There's just so much more. When you self-diagnose and you limit your vocabulary, you're just like, oh, I'm just sad. I'm just angry. And which means that you can't articulate to yourself what you're really dealing with. And you can't articulate to your friend what you're dealing with. So you don't feel understood. And feeling understood is such an important part of self-care. The feeling that I can articulate what I'm really going through and someone understands me. That's huge for self-care. I think it's one of the most important things of self-care. When you look at someone and you feel, they really get me, isn't that
good.
so good for your confidence and your
Yes.
self-worth and your significance?
Makes you like them.
Correct.
You feel loved.
Exactly. All in one moment. So for me, that's one of the best self-care techniques is when I'm struggling with something, let me not settle for the base level emotion. Let me really understand it. And then if you're speaking to your therapist, you're speaking to your doctor, you're speaking to your friend, you can now actually articulate it better so they can actually help you back.
If you want another amazing video highlighting excellence in the Indian community, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.